Welcome to Sales Velocity TV, where we pull back the curtain on how the top businesses in the world sell more with less resistance. Bringing over 50 plus years of combined sales experience and over 100 million in revenue generated, please welcome the hosts of Sales Velocity TV and two incredibly entertaining gentlemen, Andrew Cass and Aaron Parkinson.
Parky, my man, we're visiting one of my favorite topics of all time, which is the infamous sales prevention department that we come back to every couple months or so. And interestingly, today you have a nasty sales prevention story, and I actually have what's the opposite of prevention? I would call it a sales multiplier or an accelerator story, or
sales promotion, sales multiplier department.
Well, listen, preventing sales is not good, but I guess promoting or encouraging or amplifying sales is probably where I'm going here. So I have a sales amplifier. You have a sales prevention, which is interesting, but it falls under the same category of the show. We do this every couple months where throughout our travels, we're coming across companies that are usually deterring sales with stupidity, but once in a blue moon, we find a diamond in the rough who's actually doing next level, and this is awesome, next level stuff to make more sales and create a really great customer experience, which would be mine. So I'm the good news, you're the bad news today. How do you want to do this?
Usually I play good cop and you play bad cop. We're reversing roles today.
Well, listen, I think at the end of the day, if we look back at all the sales prevention department episodes at salesvelocitytv.com, if you want to scroll back, you'll see that we come back to this quite a bit. You'll see that rarely, unfortunately, are we talking about a company who's doing all the right things, checking the boxes, dotting I's and crossing T's. Usually it's just frustrating of all the things they should be doing that they're not doing. And sadly, today, with all the technology and all the tools and all the resources, it's never been easier to create a great experience. So who knows?
Yeah, and so I'm going to kick it off today. And for those people that are like, why do you guys do the sales prevention department? The reason why we do the sales prevention department is because we want to share with you real life customer experiences because these things could be happening directly under your nose and you have no idea. And then people like me and Andrew are out there talking to our friends and potential customers of yours about the experience, and you have no idea they've occurred. We just take it to another level and actually just put them right on blast on our show. Now, we're nice enough to not mention their names.
Well, we're not that nice. We mention names once in a while. You might be a little nicer than me.
We try not to put them on blast, but you can take these experiences and step back and go, how could that be happening in my own business? And obviously, when we talk about the sales accelerator department stories, could I potentially implement that into my business and be amplifying, my sales with just a couple of easy tweaks? So
sales acceleration department, Aaron, I think we should maybe pivot here and hopefully we can. I mean, sales prevention department is easy. There's never a shortage, but the sales acceleration department, man, if you make it into that category, you are awesome. And this one that I'll talk about awesome. is really pretty cool, but I'm going to let you talk about your obviously a bad, frustrating prevention scenario, right?
Absolutely. And if you actually look back at probably 90% of our episodes, we are the sales acceleration department. If you take it, half of the things that we talk about in the show and put them in your business. I've had so many people message me. Sure. I binge watched every episode. I'm taking notes left and right. Like the stuff you guys drop is insane.
It's great to hear, by the way, isn't it? It's very flattering. It's very encouraging for us to continue on a bigger scale, which we are.
Makes it more fun.
Yeah, it makes it more fun, but it's great to see people getting value. That's what it's all about. It would be boring to do a show that you just did because you felt like it was a good idea or it was an ego play. But if you're not getting that feedback, and I had somebody yesterday, I was doing a webinar yesterday, Aaron, and it was internal within the Pipeline Pro community, and somebody was like, "Where are your yellow glasses? Why are you not wearing?" They've become sort of a staple with Sales Velocity TV, and it's not a cosmetic play, by the way. It's because the lighting on me right now is pretty intense. And hey, I'm not as young as I used to be, and my eyes start to get a little worn down. And these actually block out the LED lights. But when I don't wear them, people message me, in private message me, and go, "What happened to the glasses? Put them back on."
Every once in a while, I'll do a call or I'll do a show or something without my hat, and people are like, "Where's the hat?"
And that's a Tony Robbins Hat. Isn't he the 4-leaf clover? He has. Does he have a branded line, or is it just he likes the hat like you, or do you like it like him?
Well, the company is actually called Black Clover, even though this is one of the few that doesn't have a black one. You can actually see over my shoulder, there's an orange one with a black clover on the front of it. I have like 5 or 6.
You've worn that before on the show. I remember actually commenting on it once. It's very loud, the orange one. But
It's
I
very
love the
loud.
light blue. It's great.
It's a little bit too loud for me, so I don't wear it very often. But I've got a blue one. I've got a green one. I've got this one. I've got a white one. I've got quite a few. It was actually started by somebody who was an attendee of one of Tony Robbins' conferences, and then I think they got into business circles together, and then I'm pretty sure that Tony took a stake in the brand. So
he wears it. I think he wears it on stage all the time. I think he's a 4-leaf. What's the brand again?
It's called Black Clover.
Black Clover. Interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't even know that it was a formalized 4-leaf clover brand.
And you can
see live.
They
always lively.
They always have this somewhere on the side or under
what does it say? I can't read it.
It says "Live Lucky."
Live lucky. Well, 4-leaf clover.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, we got off track there. So sales prevention department. So I'm gonna set the.
I'm excited. You haven't told me about this yet. I'm excited.
I'm gonna set the table for you. Okay. So you have seen my Jeep truck, which is highly modified, highly rednecked, huge wheels, huge lift, huge lights, huge everything. Looks like I'm going into the zombie apocalypse. It's what I like to drive. Ferraris and Lamborghinis and stuff are cool, and I could go buy one if I feel like it. But I like my big redneck modified trucks. And so my wife bought a new Bronco this year.
The Bronco.
So I said, what do you want to buy? Like, buy whatever you want to buy. If you want to go buy a Range Rover, you want to go buy another. She's a truck girl too. She's kind of a cowgirl. If you want to buy
Cowboys fan, she is big Dallas Cowboys fan her whole life.
Huge Dallas Cowboys fan. And so I said, what do you want to buy? And she said, well, I want to buy a Bronco because they used to have a ski cabin, and she was a ski racer, and her dad would drive them up to the ski cabin every weekend. And it was very rustic roads, very 4x4. It wasn't very developed back then. And so he had one of those old school Broncos with the big wheels and
like
the big
O.J. Simpson Bronco?
Yeah, like old school, lifted up, could go anywhere, and she had a lot of great family memories from it. So she said, these new Broncos have come out. I want one. I said, cool. So we went out, we bought her a new Bronco, and the plan was always to modify it because they're a little bit bland in their base, in their base level. There's no lift, there's no big wheels, there's no big fender flares, there's no lights on them. There's, you got to do all the fun stuff to it after the fact, right? Kind of like a Jeep. Standard Jeep's pretty basic as well.
Yeah, very square.
Yeah. So she's been driving it around, and then, finally she decides, okay, I'm going to do the stuff. I said, okay, well, it's not going to happen overnight. So we need to plan this. So we reached out to a friend of mine who is, I got to say, he's a super good guy. And the ironic thing is that he's a bend over backwards, how can I help you kind of guy. Your car breaks down in the middle of the highway. He's there with his team in 5 minutes, picking it up and taking it to the shop. He's that guy that customer service level is up here. Okay. So we had multiple options because this really isn't his jam. Mm-hmm. There's actually some other companies that are more known for doing modifications and paint and tires and wheels and lifts. But he said, I'd really like to work on this project because just fixing cars all day is kind of boring when you got a project to work on it, like creative and fun and whatever. It's okay. We'll send it to you. You've been great to us. No problem. So he said, first thing we need to do is we need to order all the parts, because the worst thing you can do, because as you know, we live on an island in the Caribbean, worst thing you can do is bring the car in and try to order parts, and then some parts take longer than others, and it delays, being able to actually get it done, and yada, yada, yada. I said, that good call. Order all the parts ahead of time. No problem. So he orders all the parts. Of course, there was delays and this and that, which aren't his fault. It's just, the infrastructure of the world right now. So he gets all the parts. And he says, okay, I'm ready to start. Now, this was before our trip to Europe that we took in July for 3 weeks. So I said, rather than not have a car for the week or two before we go in Europe, why don't we just drop the car off to you the day we leave, and we'll pick it up the day we come back. It'll be a great surprise coming back. Perfect. Is 3 weeks enough time? You got everything, all the parts? Yeah, I got everything. I'll have it ready for you the day you arrive. This week, which is 2 weeks, I've been home from Europe now.
I see the train coming.
He says it'll be ready September the 21st.
Oh my gosh. It's as of the time of the show, by the way, it's August 25th. So that's another 30 days.
I'm like, bro, you have all the parts. you said it would take you 3 weeks. And now you're telling me that when you have a car and all the parts, the grand total of time it's going to take you to finish it is 2 months? Like, what on earth are you doing in your shop? And I already know the answer. You don't have to tell me. You're prioritizing everything else except for my project, which you said you wanted because you wanted to be creative and blah, 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 blah. And we ordered the parts ahead of time. We dropped it off so you'd have 3 weeks completely unencumbered. And now you're telling me it's going to be an additional 3 to 4 weeks when it's already 2 weeks late. So 2 months to do this car. His response was, perfection takes time.
Wow. Take that.
I'm like, huh.
Perfection,
Okay.
but hold on. Perfection takes time, but yet if you were a perfectionist, you'd be delivering on the date that you guaranteed, which was 3 weeks, the 3 weeks you were gone. So how do you pivot and you move the goalpost and say perfection takes time and tack on another 2 months? A perfectionist would have had that done at the 3 week mark, right?
A perfectionist would have said, it's going to take 7 weeks. You let me know when you have that time frame and I'll block it off. That's not what happened, though.
Interesting.
I'm going to order the parts. I'm going to take care of it in the 3 weeks. No problem. Good to go. And you know what it's like when I got 3 kids, 2 dogs.
So now you're out of car.
I'm out of car.
Just the Bronco now? I mean,
now,
no, you have 2. That would have been the third, right?
Well, and fortunately, I guess for us, my daughter has a car here as well. And she just went back to the University of Texas. So there's an extra car here right now. But that's not the point.
Yep.
If we didn't have that, we'd be without our second car for 2 months. So and I know how long these things take. They take a week to 10 days if you're all in on the project. Give you 3 weeks because you got to slide some other things in and blah, 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 blah. No problem. That's the date he set. Now here's the problem. Here's the problem with this. I have sent this guy so many referrals because I live on an island. You have to know who you can work with and who you can't, who's responsible, who's not, who's going to hit their timelines. It's the same in construction here. It's the same in insurance. It's the same. You find your tribe of the people who can do stuff right, and then you tell all your friends. Well, guess what? My friends, they're all the ones with money. They're the ones pulling up with their Maseratis and their big Jeeps and all of their – he's got the high-end clientele on lock because of how well he has treated me in the past. And one of our good friends, Matthew Park, just moved here this week, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Permanently?
He did.
Really?
He moved with his family.
Wow.
Obviously one of the first things that where can I get a car? I want to bring a car in. He's got a car import business. He's got all this. I said, I got the guy, but then I sat there for a second and went, I don't know if I want to tell you the guy's name because right now he's pissed me off. And I don't know if I want to put my name on the line for this guy.
So we lost a big referral stream here.
We're talking about a huge referral stream that he's pissed off in me right now because I'm a great promoter. Like I'll promote. If I get great service, if I have a great experience, I can't stop talking about it. I'm a promoter at heart, right? And so I actually messaged him because Liz has been dealing with him because her car. And so I messaged him this intro and I said, here's a good friend of mine. He wants to bring a car in. I told him you're the best. However, you're only going to continue to be the best if you actually get my wife's fucking car done. That was my intro message to this referral. And it was my shot across the bow of you have dropped the ball and you're pissing me off and I'm giving you one last chance here in this scenario before I take my business elsewhere. Like when you say you're going to do in a time frame, you do the thing in the time frame. If you mess up, you own it, you readjust the time frame, and you explain why. You don't extend the time frame by triple and then say perfection takes time.
Yeah, I mean, you're almost throwing a condescending comment out there too.
Absolutely.
It's excuse driven, right?
Absolutely. And most importantly, your best customers and your best referral sources, you don't treat them like everybody else. They have earned and warranted VIP treatment. I know you got those people in your businesses, Andrew, the VIP treatment people. I've got them in mind where if they text me at 10 o'clock at night, I'm going to take that call. And I got the people that are just average clients that they text me at 10 o'clock, I'm not taking a call. Like it's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. Your referral sources, your high-end referral sources,
they need to be carved out in a VIP type scenario list, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you should have the same level of experience for everybody. Mm-hmm. There's no question about it. And this should have been dealt with exponentially better than this current situation.
And you don't have it yet.
I don't have it, bro.
Wow.
And Liz had to go back and say to him, look, I'm back on what's the date I just told you I was going to be back from Europe? I think it's the September 11th or something. She said, I'm going to have my car on September 11th, or you're going to have a problem, a serious problem.
Oh my God.
And fortunately for him, we're leaving on a vacation, so it's not like we need the car.
Yep.
If we were here, it probably would have been ratcheted up. But how do you go from I have everything and it's going to be 3 weeks to I have everything and it's 2 months? You know why? Didn't prioritize it. Didn't make it matter. I recognized it. Now I'm like, should I make you matter? I'm questioning it.
Yeah.
I'm questioning it. Sales, prevention, department. You know what I would have done if I was in his scenario?
Yeah, let's pivot.
I would have finished it. I would have finished it on week 3, and I would have found out when we were arriving back from our vacation, and I would have pulled it up to the airport parking lot, and I would have put a freaking bow on it. And
what would you have done, though, if he wasn't in a position to do that, which it sounds like he might have misjudged, whether it's parts, whether it's supply chain issues. So it seems like he wasn't able to deliver it in the 3 weeks, he said. So what would you be doing leading up? Here's the lesson, right? What would you be doing leading up to the 3 week delivery time that wasn't going to happen?
First and foremost, I would have been active communications the entire time. Guys, we've run into a roadblock. Sure. It's XYZ.
Sure.
It's going to delay us 3 days. We ran into another roadblock. I'm so sorry. It's going to extend it by 4 days. Guys, we ran into another roadblock. The paint guys got kicked off the island. Whatever the thing is that's delaying, it's going to be you know what? I'll make it up to you somehow in the future. Maybe I'll knock down our sales commissions on the next car we do, or I'll give you a credit toward any repairs, because they do a lot of repairs for us on our car. Like, I would have been communicating the whole time. I would have been recognizing the frustration that was building up, and I would have been doing something to go over and above to say, hey, it's my bad. Let me make it right for you. These are things that I would have been doing. So first and foremost, I don't think he got set back. I just think he didn't prioritize it. And that's what really irritates me, because I haven't heard
he's making excuses.
I haven't heard anything as to why it's taken longer. Just it is taking longer. So that tells me it's not a real issue. And if it is, he's not communicating it to me. So now I'm left just thinking, you don't value my business, right?
The lack of communication is the biggest issue of all. It's not only professional, it's personal. Usually any problem can be solved, or a potential meltdown can be deterred with communication. I mean, it's 99% of the time, man.
Things happen in your business, and accidents happen. People quit. People get fired. Supply chain issues happen. If you
how do you deal with that adversity? Now is really
how do you deal with that adversity? First and foremost, you own it. Secondly, you explain it. Third, you communicate it, and fourth, you figure out a way to ease the pain so that the people know you actually care about the inconvenience.
And I think you go one step further, Aaron. I think you also figure out a way to provide either another level of service, or, hey, because this happened, we want to give you this.
Agreed.
Because this happened, we want to give you a free year of oil changes. I mean, I'm thinking something along the lines of the car, right? Something car-oriented, congruent with the car. You absolutely would come up with some sort of because we misjudged this, we want to make it up over here.
And you got to remember
that's the key. Put that fire out.
And I think you're 100% right. And you got to remember that at the end of the day, we're all people.
Right.
And people are built up of a whole bunch of emotions. And everybody knows that they're not your only customer. I know I'm not his only customer. I know he's busy. I know because I send him customers. But even though your customers know that that's the case, they don't want to feel that way.
Right. Yeah.
They want to feel like they're the most important person on your docket today, that they are valued, that they are appreciated, and people will actually go back. I know you could probably give some examples. I will go back to places like restaurants, for example, where the food is a 7 instead of a 10, But I walk in and the manager's like, oh, bro, it's so good to see you. Like, come on here. Let me get you your favorite table. How are the kids? Blah, 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 blah. I will overlook that the food's a 7 and maybe the service is a 7 or an 8 instead
because
of
the way they deal with people.
Because of how I feel when I go there, how he makes me feel personally, how he makes me feel in the eyes of the people that I bring there, right? So when I first got started in business, somebody said to me, it's not the deal, it's the feel, right? That. How do people feel when they're engaging with you? Because right now, I feel like I don't matter.
And his actions and his behavior pretty much communicate that, unfortunately.
Yeah, I feel like the $25,000 check I just wrote you plus the 20 people I sent you over the last year don't matter. So I'm going to probably go and find somebody where I feel like it does matter, like they actually care.
Right.
You know, and that's every business. That's my sales prevention department story for the week.
Well, from a prevention standpoint, before I move to an acceleration standpoint, or what did I call it? Amplifier? Sales amplifier? Department?
Amplifier,
I like
accelerator.
Amplify. It's a powerful word.
Yeah.
But from a prevention department, yes, that business probably exists on referrals. And why cut off little pipelines of referrals? Right? Why do that? And I think to your point in the beginning, Aaron, a lot of business, you might not be dealing front line with your customers and not know this is happening. This is really the big lesson in sales prevention is this going on somewhere where you may not see it? And usually that's the answer. You're a busy business owner. You might be a CEO. You might be in a different division, not directly communicating with customers or selling to customers or architecting that experience. So at some point, you're going to have to inspect that, right, and figure out what's going on. Right?
Agreed. And I think that I always go back to I don't know how much I've talked about this example before, but you'll know what I'm saying. Liz and I lived, as you know, at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel for a year at one point. And the Ritz-Carlton, when they hire anybody, they go through a battery of personality tests to see what kind of person they're handling. And then they go through another huge amount of training on customer service.
Yeah. They're committed to that culture. That's who they are.
They are committed to that culture. And it's 10 years since I lived at the one here in the Cayman Islands. And the people that still work there that were there when I was there 10 years ago, I walk in and it's Mr. Parkinson, how are you? How is Soleil? How is Kessler? How is Everest? How's Liz? You know, do you want me to set you up for an appointment at the spa? I know you love those massages. Are you going to be working out tomorrow morning? You're always at 7 a.m. in the gym. Do you want me to hook you up with a personal trainer? They know everything about me. On Christmas, they're showing up with Santa Claus to my room to give stuff to my kids. When I moved out, they came and gave us all embroidered Ritz-Carlton robes with our names on them to say, we're so sorry you left. We hope one day you come back. All the staff lining up in the hall on the way as we move out. How do I feel when I go there versus like a Hyatt or a Kimpton? Like there's other comparably nice places, but
the Ritz is known for that.
I feel like $1 million every time I stay at the Ritz because they trained on it. So in your business, how well are you doing in ingraining that culture where when you make mistakes, people will overlook it because they're like, man, these guys love me, take care of me, respect me, appreciate me. It goes so much further than people understand.
Yeah. So Aaron, right now, if we have a problem customer that, whether it's a tech issue, whether it's just frustration because you're not a tech person, we've pivoted to having a point person schedule a Zoom session and get on a one-on-one for 15 or 20 minutes, not a whole day, sure. And just, hey, how can we diffuse this? And It's worked wonders. It's great for retention. It creates what you said a second ago. Somebody feels better. They feel like they're cared about. They feel like they didn't just get sent a link to a help article. I mean, there's that too, but when people, you can tell when something's festering to the point of your guy, right?
Yeah.
When that's festering, you need to move to a different plan, not the normal plan. It isn't the normal send a help article. It's now, okay, let's put someone on a call, on a Zoom, face-to-face, belly-to-belly. Usually when you get out behind email or text or something, things can be solved and people feel cared for.
And it's really smart on your behalf because the number one complaint that people have with softwares is I'm not techie and I don't have anybody to talk to.
Pretty much.
So when you only have a tech outlet for customer service, that's almost compounding the problem because they're not techie. And when you have somebody that can actually talk to, usually their thing is quite simple. But
it's usually user related, actually.
It's usually user related, and it's usually quite a simple solution. But they have a hard time articulating what the problem is because they're not techie.
You want to hear the greatest example of this of all time, right?
Sure.
You've heard me mention this before. It's the Apple Store.
Yeah.
There it is.
There it is.
Right there. No other computer company, no other hardware company on the planet said, you know what, we're going to create brick and mortar storefronts to solve the issue of people struggling with tech. And now we've said this before, pound for pound, square foot for square foot, there is no more profitable per square foot operation in the world than the Apple Store. You see people in there with Genius Bar people on appointments, and they're doing iPhone stuff, they're doing phone stuff, and they're getting their questions answered belly to belly, face to face, and they're never going to a competitor for that reason.
And have you ever felt like when you walk into an Apple store, and I've walked into many Apple stores.
Do they have one down there, by the way?
They have a licensed distributor, so it's not quite the same thing.
Right.
Although they're quite good as well, I might say. But when you walk into like an actual Apple store, I don't ever feel like I'm walking into a pitch fest in an Apple store.
Never.
I legitimately feel like I'm walking in and first off, you can't go 6 feet without bumping into somebody. So they're not trying to understaff the place and not
the place
making
is usually overstaffed. You're right.
It's usually overstaffed. And the people you can tell are legitimately in love with the brand, and they legitimately geek out about the tech. They really want to understand tech, the devices, the opportunities. So when you talk to somebody, they're like, oh, hey, what are you looking for? Well, I'm looking for a new iPhone. Oh, what was the old one? What did you like about it? What did you dislike? Well, I like this. I like this. Do you like big ones? Do you like small ones? Yeah. You know what? This is actually my favorite because it has this and this. Let me show you, blah, 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 blah. And it's coming from a place of
passion,
a passion, a fan.
Yeah, they love it.
So I don't ever feel like someone's in there going like, you need to buy these headphones.
You have to get the new iPhone 14 that came out last week, right?
Yeah.
It's not.
No, they're very genuine and authentic, which makes the experience, if they weren't, like the amount of people that are in there, I wouldn't even want to walk in because there's so many of them working. I'd be like, I like to walk in and cruise around.
I feel like the exact opposite is when you go to a furniture store.
Oh yeah, brutal.
The second you walk in, two people going, what can I help you buy today?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, do
you need my help right now?
Yeah, just
right?
I just got in the door.
What are you looking to buy? I'll let you know when I get in the door. I'm 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Right, exactly. It's amazing.
That's
culture. But again, it's culture.
That's the
right?
culture,
so
right?
You
Like
could take the Ritz culture,
the Apple culture, right? And you don't have to have like a giant hotel or a chain of computer stores. It's what
you just need to decide is what you need to do,
and then you need to spread it amongst your people and educate them and make them understand how important it is. There's that old adage, Andrew, that if one person complains, they tell 10 other people. The bigger thing that most people understand is you will only hear about 10% of the complaints that are actually coming in your business. Because people don't care enough to come back and say, you know what, I didn't like my experience with you. I'm going to give you another shot. They just go somewhere else. You know, so those complaints that you get, they're actually gold because there's probably 10 times more of them going on. How do you
some just stay quiet and go away.
Oh, most of them do.
Yeah.
Because they don't care enough to tell you.
Right.
You know, about it. So, okay, let's shift now. You have a sales accelerator department or amplifier department today.
So
tell us about
this almost never happened, so I'm glad that we're talking about it, right? So there's this restaurant in Naples where I live in Florida. It is pretty like a cool looking place on the outside. I'm actually gonna give them the credit they deserve. It's called Cooper's Hawk. Right?
Okay.
So it looks like a cool place. Has like a winery in the back. We drive by it a lot. We finally go. And when I get in the door, two things going on that don't happen in other restaurants. Number one is there's this, you walk into the gift shop first. So this almost reminds, this is Disney-esque.
Yeah. Almost like a Cracker Barrel.
Yeah. So when you walk in, you're not walking into the concierge to get seated. You're walking through the gift shop, which is a wine-driven gift shop first. Then you get to the restaurant, which is behind it. And then to the left, there's this whole winery thing going on, which I kind of knew because it says winery on the outside. So the interesting thing about this, we get in there, and the first thing that happens is somebody greets us.
Nice.
Hey, what can I do for you? Can I get you a complimentary glass of wine? This is a wine tasting area over here. I'm like, wow, what a great start, right? I'm like, man, this is going good, right? So everybody's tasting wine, no cost, right? They're tasting wine. It's just a little bit of this, a little bit of that, tiny little wine tasting glasses. And so a great experience while you're waiting. So then I'm interested, what is this? What's the wine concept? Is it just a gift store? It's actually a wine club.
Oh,
right? So
here
now,
we go.
So now it's like I said, the restaurant's in the back, which is what we had the reservation for. But then it's a winery, and they have all kinds of wine supplies, and they have a lot of information. The bars to the right, people are tasting. They're doing whites, they're doing reds. And the guy says, do you want to hear about our membership? And I'm like, oh, baby. Do you want to hear about our membership? I'm at a restaurant now. You and I have talked about the bolt-on membership subscription model on this show maybe 10 times in 2 years at least.
At least.
And it's probably come up in conversation 50.
I won't do anything that does not have recurring income.
You said it 3 weeks ago on a show, right? So
Yeah.
so I'm like, absolutely, I want to hear about it. How does it work? So it's two different options. You get 3 bottles of wine per month. You get access to events. You get points. You get 10% off anything in the store. When you come to eat, you can either use one of the bottles or you can take one home, and you get 10% off your meal. And he's going on. They have the brochures and whatever. I'm like, I'm in, done. I'm here. I'm joking with my wife. I'm here 5 minutes. I'm already a member, right? Because I know the value of something like this. And look at this. Well, membership card I got the same day.
Awesome.
Right? Member. I go online, set up a profile. It tells me how many I get 3 bottles a month. It's like $64 a month for 3 bottles of wine, and they're well-sourced wines. They have their own winery. Interesting from a business model and an economic standpoint is they're not just buying wines and putting them in the store. They have their own wineries in Illinois. So
Which is brilliant.
So they're in the restaurant business, Aaron, but they're also in the wine distribution business.
Right, and they've got a flow of ready-to-drink customers, and rather than just giving their money to these wineries, they're making their own, which is exponentially more profitable.
Absolutely.
And creating a business that has an insane valuation, as most alcohol brands do. Look at George Clooney, look at Conor McGregor, look at Ryan Reynolds, all the alcohol brands they've sold in the last 3 years. So it's brilliant to say we're going to create our own brand and market it internally in our store membership winery. Brilliant.
So then the question is, are they in the restaurant business or are they in the wine business?
Or are they in the membership business?
Or are they in the membership business? And the answer is they're in all 3.
Right.
Where most restaurants are in one.
Correct.
They're in the buy or die. We make money today if X amount of people come in, or we're done.
Right.
And we just, tomorrow's a new day, and we hope we get the numbers we get to turn over profit that day, and then it's rinse and repeat. They're not stapling any long-term stable revenue in, and they don't have diversification of something like a winery bolted onto the restaurant model or vice versa. That's the lesson, is there's technically 3 businesses in one. Most businesses can't even get their head past the one business that they're in, which usually isn't that profitable. Where their money is coming in is probably not on the restaurant. I'm sure they're making some money.
Of course.
But think about the profit margins now with the add-on of membership monthly continuity and the winery. That's a trifecta right there.
Let's talk about metrics for a second, because I'm a math geek, right? You've obviously been to this place at least once. Maybe you've been back since then. I'm
going Saturday again for the second time.
Okay.
Now I'm going as a member.
What day of the week did you go there?
Saturday.
Was it nighttime?
Yes.
Okay. When you walked in the night on a Saturday, between the store and the restaurant, if you had to just take a guess, how many people were in there?
Place was pumping on both sides. It was totally full on both sides.
100? 200?
Yeah, easily.
100? 200?
Easily, and it's summertime, which is a really slow time in South Florida. People like to get out of this heat, so it was packed.
Let's say conservatively, it sounds to me if it's packed. Let's say it was 200 people in between both sides.
Probably so, yeah. Maybe
Okay.
150.
So we always do these models together. And let's say we carve it in half. Let's say everybody came with a husband or a wife. So there's really only 100 buying units, right? So 100 buying units in. And that was just at the night. So if you actually look at maybe over the course of the day, maybe it was even double that amount because you were there. So there's 200 buying units that come in a day. If they welcome every person and they introduce this offer to as many as they can, what do you think their conversion rate might be on the membership? I'm going to throw out 5%.
I think it's higher than that.
Okay, let's assume it's higher, but let's just say it was 5%. 200 buying units, 5% equals 10 people a day times $664 a month in subscription is $640 a day being added to subscription revenue, which equals $20,000 a month, which equals $250,000 a year in recurring revenue, of which probably 50% of it is profit margin because it's their own wine. It's their own, in some cases, right?
Exactly right.
So that's $125,000 a year.
Compounding monthly,
right? So if they have a 6-month retention, a 1-year retention, a 2-year retention, we don't know what that is. But in the first year, you've brought in $240,000 a year in recurring revenue. The next year, another 240. So now you're at 500. I don't know what the attrition is,
just
but
at that linear 5%, by the way.
Just at that linear number. Now, if it was at 10%, that's $500,000, right? And you're actually building a fan base because they're like, oh, I'm not only getting the wine, but I could bring the wine. I could bring it to dinner. I could do this. I could do that. I'm getting these discounts to come back to the restaurant. I feel important. I feel like I'm part of the club. So maybe I'm going to eat at that restaurant twice as often as I normally would. So I might go, 3 times a month instead of once a month. So now you've got all the increase of revenue in the restaurant. You see how this is all like...
It's a snowball effect. It's a multiplier effect.
It's a snowball effect. Now somebody comes in 5 years and says, I want to buy your restaurant. What most restaurants do is they say, here's our P&L. It's our alcohol. Here's our food. Here's our food cost. Here's our staff cost. I've got a 7% profit margin. We do, $5 million a year in revenue. So I'm doing $350,000 in profit. What do you want to buy it off me for? Restaurants are horrible to sell because they're so erratic, right? Guy's going to say, maybe I'll give you $1 million, maybe for this thing. 3 years EBITDA, something like that. And you come in and say, here, we got the same thing, but we also have our store. Our store does $250,000 a year in revenue. Our membership does $700,000 a year in revenue. Oh, and our winery also does $1 million a year in revenue. Hold the phone.
It's a way different multiple now.
We're talking minimum 20x. That's what we're talking on the difference between that business, because that is a machine.
And I found out that they have locations all over the U.S. I thought it was a local spot. I had never heard of it until I saw it where I live now. But it's all over. I think I went on the website and there had to be 80 locations across the U.S. There's like 3 in Florida alone.
Goodness.
Yeah. So they're running that model times 30, 40, 50, 60 locations. The store, the winery, the membership, the restaurant, every time at a new location, same process, same sales process, same greeters at the door, bringing multiple different, tests to us. And then here's the information on our membership and our events, by the way. They have events. So
of course.
Technically it's part of the membership, but anytime you have events and you can bring people together, to your point earlier, you create that social stability. Really cool. Really cool. I was impressed. Rarely am I, but they did it right. Amex style, membership cards, multiple different options, not just a restaurant. Restaurant's a bonus. Now, as I'm going in, I'm saying to my wife, I'm like, so help me God if the food is good. It's game over. Because now it's like, okay, for all the things you said before, there's leeway when the experience is good. But, man, if that food is good, this thing is a gold mine. The food was very good. So top it all off, that thing is a multi-headed monster. And watching this right now, you might be going like, well, I could never do that in my bit. No, there's so much you can do. How do you add different oil wells, right? How do you add different profit streams, oil wells, pipelines, whatever you want to call it? This place has 3 or 4 pipelines of income going into the same place. And they've created a really, really interesting boots-on-the-ground experience, a grassroots experience.
And the stability.
Ooh, the stability. We talk about that a lot.
Of the business model. The stability. Even just the membership side alone, 3 years in, right? When okay, there's going to be $70,000 a month that's going to come in from just the memberships. Before we bring in a single customer, before we bring out a single steak or pour a single glass of wine or sell a single thing out of the store, we got $1 million a year coming in. Do you know how much easier it is to run projections, to manage the business, to sleep at night when you know you got that?
All of it.
All of it.
All of it. And it becomes now fun. And you wake up enthusiastic and you are loving the environment. And when you have that stability, if one of them is going not so good, right? Let's say one of those pillars is maybe not performing due to whatever reasons, the other two backstop you, which is a great place to be.
Yeah, it reduces. We should probably wrap this up fairly soon. But here's the thing that I've experienced about having subscription-based businesses, or at least a business with a subscription-based component attached to it over time. When things go bad, the only way that they're going to become unbad is if you have the freedom and lack of stress to be creative. You got to step back and be able to go, okay, what's the problem here? What needs to change? What do we need to fix? How do we need to pivot? When you have only eat what you kill money coming in and you don't really know what that's going to look like because things aren't going right, it's very difficult to be creative.
Very.
You're in like fight or flight mode. And the solutions you come up with typically aren't very good.
Mm-hmm.
When you've got reoccurring income coming in, and you can say, well, worst case scenario, we could shut down this division, or we could shut down this. We still got this, and we're good. It creates this breath of fresh air, this feeling of like a safety blanket around you, that you can say, okay, let's take a step back. Let's make some pivots. Let's make some shifts. Let's be creative. And what you put back out is exponentially better.
Versus Aaron dealing from a place of scarcity.
Yes, absolutely. That is where most businesses unfortunately are. They're always in a place of scarcity where the next COVID lockdown or the next government policy or the next, hurricane that comes and hits Florida, or choose your thing, because things happen, right? Like things happen. They're literally one bad event away from being dead.
Yes. Yep. It's true. It's true. Yep.
And like this morning, even right before I got on this call, Andrew, I was speaking with really smart, sharp guys, owned a couple hundred. He's got a real estate company, owns a couple hundred houses. He's got an education brand, well diversified, sharp guy. And he said, I know that you could build me this amazing new product funnel. I've got this amazing new membership area, and I want it to convert like crazy. And I heard that you had the template and you're the guy, and I'll give you $15,000 to go and build it for me. But I don't really need more clients like right now, or more calls or whatever. So I don't really need the media piece, the ongoing subscription piece to your agency. So can I just pay you this money to build this thing? What do you think my answer was?
Probably not.
Not a chance. And he laughed. He's
I know the reasons why, but
he goes, you don't want to take my money? It's just not worth my time to carve up the bandwidth of my team and get distracted and have to pour time into it. I'm in here for 2-year plus clients on recurring revenue. And if it doesn't have it, I just don't care enough to do it.
You're not looking for the one-hit wonder, the quick transaction, the quick build.
Nope.
The quick
I have no interest whatsoever. And I explained why to him. And guess what? He's like, I get it. I'll come on for the full thing, for the full, the full package suite.
You're dictating the terms.
I'm dictating the terms.
This is our culture.
Yep.
Here's how we play long-term, not short-term. All good.
Yep. Yeah. And he was like,
people will respect that. Most will respect that leadership, by the way, and they'll actually prefer to do it your way. Very few would balk at that and go, you know what? I don't want to deal with you because you have a more thoughtful, long-term, stable plan for me. It doesn't usually work that way when you have good people. Now, your lottery mentality people will be turned off and want to go the other way. But then at the end of the day, that's not who you want.
I don't want them anyway, so it's irrelevant.
Yeah, well done, man.
Yeah. So anyways, I thought I would end it on that.
It was great. Today. Sales prevention department, sales amplifier department. I'm glad we got to do 2 today. I'm going again Saturday. I'll report back next week, but good one here today. SalesVelocityTV.com. All past episodes. Did a great one last week on the Tale of Two Internets. More of that to come. Aaron, good talking with you as always, man. Sneak peek before we get off. We've been talking a little bit in the last couple of weeks about a full rebrand of the show happening going into the fall of 2023 here. So stay tuned, stay plugged in. Same time, same place next week. SalesVelocityTV.com. All past episodes. I'm Andrew. That's Aaron. Over and out.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Sales Velocity TV is powered by Pipeline Pro, the ultimate all-in-one sales pipeline management and marketing automation platform that makes all others obsolete. And we can prove it. Take a tour at gopipelinepro.com. See you on the next episode.